This episode of St James's Pod is brought to you by Total Supplements. Visit their website totalsupplements.co to discover their range of nutritionist-tested supplements, gummies, shakes and natural extracts. From popular sports supplements like whey protein, creatine, vitamin tablets and powders to mental health supplements such as nootropics and mushrooms, they've got you totally covered. They also have men's health collection offering testosterone support and beauty supplements to keep you looking like your absolute best. I personally use Total Supplements products and I have been using them from before they came on board to sponsor the podcast. So I'm hugely excited to be partnering with a brand that I know and love. So whether you train hard, work hard, or take an active interest in your overall health, use our code St James's Pod, that's stjames'pod, for 25% off your entire order. The link's in the description. Support the podcast and visit totalsupplements.co now and tell them St James's Pod sent you. And we are back for another Champions League episode of St James's Pod. I'm here with Alex and Tom. We will be looking ahead to the Dortmund game with them coming to St James's Park. But we will also be looking first at the Palace game. We've just secured a 4-0 thumping of Crystal Palace, which, to be fair, Tom, I'll give you a nod at the top. You predicted 3-0, so not far off. But let's talk about Tonali first, because there's been a bit of news on him. It's looking like a 10-month ban, or at least that's what he's trying to negotiate with his lawyers. I don't know if you guys have read into the story a bit more than me. I've just seen that this morning as I've woken up.
Yeah, nothing much more than that has come about. So I think, as we were kind of alluding to last week, that he was working with the authorities that he was going to get a reduced ban. I know 3 years was the maximum that he could have got if he had maybe not cooperated with authorities and everything, but he's obviously been there in Italy working with them, and we've seen Fagioli, these Italian international teammate, get a 7-month ban, and he was one of the first to start cooperating. So
he crossed on everyone, didn't he?
So I think the same will follow for Tonali and Zaniolo as well, the Villa on loan Villa guy. That they'll likely all kind of get a similar 7 to 10 month bans, but that'll be him out for the rest of the season and misses the Euros as well if Italy qualify for that. So it's what we kind of expected, but luckily it's not anything more severe than that, and we'll just have to do without him for the.
I was kind of half hoping the Italian FA would be like wanting him to play in the Euros, so they'd kind of give him like just enough ban to take him up to the Euros and then get him back.
Well, that's what Fagioli's got, hasn't he? He's only got a 7-month ban, so whether or not he'll come back and get a call.
Well, to be fair, I think he got a 12-month, but 5 of it's suspended or something like that. I don't know the ins and outs, but I think it's officially a 12-month, but you can play football after 7 or something like that. So maybe if they make it officially 10, but you can play football after 5 or something. But I'd be surprised if Tonali got less than him, because Tonali sounds like he was the one corrupting all the other players and giving out the details to the illegal betting app and stuff. But we didn't really get your thoughts, Alex, last week. And we were talking before Eddie's press conference, where he came out and basically obviously said like how much we're supporting the player, and he wanted all the fans to support the player, which we obviously seen in Paris, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I guess now that we're another week on, what's your take on the situation at the minute?
Well, that's the thing. Like, we haven't had that much more concrete information about it. It's like you're hearing bits and bobs from the press, but generally, I don't think it can really be talked about until the actual sentence is given. Like, clearly, he's not match fixing because he's betting on his team to win. So it's not the same as, say, Ivan Toney betting on like the Toon to lose when he's like obviously at us but on the one away. So it's not quite the same. It's like a boxer like betting on himself to win a fight. Like, it's not match fixing, but like, yeah, it's probably like questionable. So that's why I think, obviously, like with Tony getting I think this is about a 7-month ban as well. That's why it's not excessively more like this 3 years that I've been talking about, the maximum amount, which I imagine he would have got if he was betting on like Milan to lose, or obviously Paqueta. This whole thing's going through with him, and it's his investigation's going on for months already, because it's a lot more dodgy really, because there's these spot fixing fines where he's bet on himself to get booked, or told his friends to bet on himself to get booked, and he's had some very dubious things happening. Yeah, so that's why I say Paqueta's still playing, and Tonali should be resolved in the next couple of weeks, I'd imagine, considering how quick this Fagioli sentence came through. I think it should be sooner rather than later. I did see that Eddie Howe said he's available for selection again for the Dortmund game, which, again, the fact that he was involved even on Saturday, I thought was a bit of a surprise. But he got obviously a class reception, as you said, from the fans. Well, it was rapturous, wasn't it? Before he came on, even when he was warming up, he was getting a class reception. He was getting the chance, Tonali chants sang about him before he came on, and obviously there's this question. Well, I'm saying questionable by certain fans on Twitter getting the lap of honour, so to speak, at the end of the game. But that's just fans just showing their support. And
it was, like you say, just like rapturous, and he had the flag up. War Flags had his flag up. Like, it was obviously, planned, like, just to give him. We've seen it before, though, haven't we? Like, when we want to give back to somebody, like with Rafa, when we went down, like, and it convinced Rafa to want to stay on, and like we're basically, as a fan group, just saying, look, Sandro, like, you're going through a hard time, you'll come back stronger, and we'll be there when you do. Like, and hopefully that message has got across to him, and like in this period that he's going to be out, that he's going to just obviously hopefully get himself in a better mind space, and know that he's loved and wanted by the club.
No, I couldn't agree more. Like, you're seeing on his face at the end as well. Like, obviously we couldn't see it from the seats, but when you saw the clips later on Match of the Day from the club as well, you could see he was tearing up a little bit, and like, it would have been that thing, thinking like, this is going to be my last game for potentially the rest of the season. Like, it's a sad moment, and as you say, and I hope he just gets the help and the support that he needs, which you will get it from the club, and you know he's already getting it from the fans. So hopefully he can turn it around and get over it, because as we know in this country, gambling's a fucking huge problem with men's mental health. I know people who've lost their lives like in the last couple of years because of mental health reasons, and that's definitely involved. So I just wish he gets well soon, and hopefully he'll be back fighting fit for next season, and we can really see what he does.
Yeah, but in the Palace preview press conference, I thought Eddie basically handled it amazing. Like, and what he said, I think, really did sort of galvanise the fans into giving them that love and stuff. But I like the fact that if he gets sort of pressured on anything like too much, he just says, that's not what my job is. I'm not involved in that. I'm not going to speak about that. And like, you could see him starting to get annoyed a little bit when he was getting kind of like the same question asked that he'd already said that too. And then he's just like, yeah, like I said, I'm not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But it does still leave a lot of questions about like what we're going to do in terms of whether there's a lawsuit, whether Milan knew, stuff like that. But I guess that's going to take a lot longer to come out. And really, at this stage, it's more about the player, like Eddie was saying. So, yeah, hopefully we find out sooner rather than later. But if we talk about Palace, but stick with Tonali for a second, like we both said, Tom, we didn't think he'd feature. And then obviously when I seen Eddie's press conference, the way he was talking, I was like, oh, he's definitely going to at least be on the bench, because he was saying like basically the crowd need to get behind him when he's on the ball and stuff. So it's obviously in his mind that he's, as long as he's available, then he's playing. So do you think we'll see him, as long as like things stay as they are now, do you think we'll see him again against Dortmund?
Well, I think, let's be honest, when he came on, the game was well and truly won already against Palace. So, even if his mind was kind of drifting, like, and his concentration was maybe not fully there, it wasn't the end of the world in that game for Palace. But
True.
depends if the game's in the balance, whether or not you want to risk that. I don't know. Maybe since he had such a positive reception from everybody at the weekend, that might have just calm any kind of nerves that he might have had going into this one. So it really depends. I don't obviously think he'll start the game. I don't expect that, and it depends how the game is going. Whether or not Eddie risks putting them on later in the game. So, yeah, or if there's an injury. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with it. But I don't know if, Alex, you have a different opinion on that.
No, I completely agree. Like, especially as we were saying, like, he had absolutely zero pressure coming on Saturday. None at all. So, like, he had no worries about sort of making an impact or if he fucked up or out like that. Whereas, obviously, the game tomorrow on Wednesday against Dortmund, it's a whole different ball game. I think. Can you really see we're being 3-4-0 up? I mean, I wouldn't have said that against PSG, but we will. So I'm not saying we won't, but I'm expecting it to be a harder game than Palace, and I'm not ruling it out. But I think, yeah, of course, if there was an injury to one of our central midfielders, I think he would be the one to come on over, obviously, Willock, who's back in training, but Eddie said he's not ready to start and probably not even feature. Lewis Miley, would you want to chuck him in a big Champions League game? Probably not. I don't think he's quite ready. Anderson, yeah, of course, we'll know he can do a job. But I think out of all of them, I would still prefer Tonali to come on, even with what's going on in his head. As you said, that last half an hour or whatever might have just relaxed him a little bit. So yeah. Fingers crossed. And as Sam said, though, like, I think it's just best for everyone if it just gets resolved as soon as possible, because just having this in like limbo now, like, will he start, will he not start, like, will he be involved, how long is he going to be involved for? I don't think it's really great for anyone, and yeah, including the player, just having it dragging on. So yeah, fingers crossed it is sorted soon.
Yeah. So if we talk about Palace, then we all predicted we'd keep a clean sheet, and I think me and you, Alex, were expecting a bit of a tighter game based on the fact that obviously we had tight games last season. All three of them were 0-0, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, well, in 90 minutes. So it was a bit of a surprise at the half time where we're like 3-0 up already, but we did sort of highlight the fact that their key men, attacking wise, were out. So were there any surprises for you guys that Palace played so badly?
Well, we highlighted obviously their defence being, such a key thing for them in recent games, Anderson and Gay, and yeah, they just looked rattled really quickly. I thought Mitchell as well was really rattled at left back. That's where all of our attacking threat was coming from, down the right, and yeah, there was a moment where Trips put like a hard tackle in on him, and like, I feel like at that point he seemed to just completely shy away, and yeah, we were just onto them. I know, like, obviously my boy Murphy's, I'm gonna sing a lot of praises about him, but
speak for yourself, mate.
Yeah, he obviously the first goal. Let's be honest, like, it's a cross, and it's yeah, obviously great, like, interplay, and Trippier just keeping himself on side in the build up and everything. Like, I was sitting there thinking that was going to be ruled out.
Really?
Yeah.
From where we were all thinking that it was onside.
It just happened so quick. Like I had a good view of it, but like I thought, nah, like it just Trippier's movement was that quick. I thought you just maybe got like a yard or two ahead, but like to see how like you just timed it to perfection, and then obviously Murphy's made a great run, and like he's looking at that back post, looking for Gordon or someone running onto it, but gets a whole load of fluke, but. I mean, it just set the tone early on, didn't it? Like we were just gonna like get at them early, get wide, and Palace just like they couldn't then build anything. Like I felt like even with their midfielders, we were just completely bypassing their midfield every time. Their front three were anonymous, like barely got a sniff in the game for me. There was only one moment, I think, like in first half where they got a decent cross in from the right, and Murphy again was tracking back and just got there ahead of. He was everywhere, man. He was
No,
honestly.
I remember. It was just after he scored, I think.
Yeah, so that was probably the only real sniff. But like, I mean, I'll let Alex jump in before I just make this like half an hour of me talking about Murphy. But no, we were brilliant.
Like obviously, Sam talked about if you thought we were surprised of how bad they were, and there was a few players who like me and Pete picked up before the game were like, these are Championship players. Like Will Hughes, like what's he doing in the Premier League still? Like he's playing for Watford, went down with them, and like he's still starting for Crystal Palace, who are a team who were meant to be pushed on the top half last season. You've got like Jordan Ayew. I swear he's played for them about 7 years now. Like
man, yeah.
There's a good handful of those players who are clearly not up to it, and they showed it on Saturday. It was a real poor performance, and I don't know if it's whether we were just playing so well or they were playing so poor. But you're saying after the first goal, like they didn't change, like they didn't like go out where they didn't like try and get back in the game. It's like they didn't have a plan. It's like Roy Hodgson told them, right, go out, play like a defensive game, play on the counter, and when that wasn't working, they just didn't change it.
Yeah.
As you're saying about those overloads on the right, like obviously Murphy and Trippier causing them all sorts of bother, and then Longstaff like going in between the like Gahey and Mitchell, they just couldn't track that run at any time. He made it like I think twice before he got his goal as well.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, like he capitalised on Gahey, well slipping really, but it was a good finish. Again, it was very similar to the PSG one. Absolutely buried it, like just put his foot through it, and if you get that on target, like you've always got a chance. So we had a lot of good performances though. Like as you're saying, your boy Murphy, Longstaff had a class game. The Toon have already put a montage of Shaw's crossfield balls, which were like fucking ridiculous. Obviously, for the first goal, he's the one who sprays out the Trippier. It was like non-stop all day, that ball across the Trippier, and as Sam said, Mitchell, all kinds of trouble, turned inside and out by all three of those, and it was just a class performance really, and I think it was well deserving of that 4-0 scoreline. Maybe they had two good chances from corners, which they should have done better with, should have at least hit the target. And then obviously I think one of their first shots on target, maybe their only shot on target, was the one which Pope then distributed rapidly for the fourth goal. So complete domination. We all predicted a clean sheet, and I think we're all right to, because if they continue and don't get Eze and Elise back, they're in big trouble this season.
Yeah, on that performance for sure. Yeah, they look like they could be getting dragged into some bother. I did not see anything good at all from them. But obviously lots of good stuff from us.
Yeah, I think we said in the preview like the dangers from set pieces, and that's kind of all they had. But we did play pretty well. Like I've seen on Twitter sort of mixed reviews in terms of the atmosphere and stuff. I know like you guys were there, so was that a symptom of scoring early and like just being so dominant, or is that just Palace fans making that up?
Well, Right, so so it's come from Palace fans, right? So one, Palace didn't bring a
I
full.
don't know.
Okay. Well, anyway, Palace didn't bring a full contingent with them. They had the tiny little section of these little ultras, which I noticed who gave a little bit of noise, and then as soon as we scored inside 5 minutes, that was it. Didn't hear a peep from them. Yeah, it might have been a little bit flat, but it was because it was that routine of a result. Like, yeah, I think like I can't really read too much into it other than that. Really, like we blew them away that quickly. That yeah, like obviously Tonali stuff like that was going on throughout the game. So like giving him regular like chance and stuff every time like he was running up and down. Like the crowd were right behind cheering him on. But I can see where they're coming from, but I don't think it's anything for us to be like, that's a bit shit. Like I don't know if Alex you think otherwise, but there was definitely some flatter moments, but like it wasn't that bad. I didn't think.
See, like I said to one of the lads at half time, we sitting here, we're like, that's one of the most comfortable halves I've ever sat through. And I said, and I know for a fact as well, Hodgson's going to come out the second half. He's not going to change anything, and it's going to be just as comfortable in the second half, and it was. And I think that reflected in the crowd that everyone was like really comfortable. We didn't really need to get behind the team. It was flat. Like, don't get us wrong. Like, if Palace fans are saying that, fair enough. I've seen a lot of Toon fans actually saying it on Twitter. That was a flat atmosphere, and it was. And maybe people have got one eye on the Dortmund game and maybe it's because we are so good and so good at home. We are just expected to beat these teams now, especially with like the injuries. You often get these kind of atmospheres now with the poorer teams, I want to say, and especially being a 3:00 kickoff, which we don't get very often. It just had one of those feelings of it should be a routine win. It's probably a little bit lucky we got that goal so early, and obviously a bit fluky goal because it's the kind of game that would get to like 20, 25 minutes in, and the crowd would start getting irritated if we hadn't scored, which was probably Palace's plan. But yeah, we're just lucky we got that early goal and just put everyone at ease. But yeah, it was, in my opinion, a fairly flat atmosphere. Like,
I would best describe it of like you've just had your like Christmas dinner and you just like it's been belter and you're feeling dead content with life, and then you're just sitting on the sofa and like you just like flat. You just like
you know the Christmas pudding's coming. You know it's coming.
Yeah, you know it's coming.
It's a matter of time.
What is this analogy?
But you haven't got the energy to do much else other than just be like happy and content with the fact that you've just had an absolutely boss Christmas dinner.
Keep picking up the quality streets.
Exactly, and that was it. Like we just had there was little moments where we were like, yeah, we're happy, got another goal. But no need to get like too over the top with it. And I feel like that's probably the best way to describe how the atmosphere was.
I'd argue that's definitely not the best way to describe it. I was starting to get a bit worried when we weren't getting the second, like. Because I was like, with the first one being a bit fluky as well, I was like, if we don't go into half time 2-0, then this could turn in the second half. But obviously, we ended up going in, like, once the second came, the third came about 2 minutes later. So the game was gone by half time. But yeah, I don't know if there's any anyone you want to highlight specifically that we haven't already. I was going to say Wilson, I thought, had a pretty good performance. He was doing like a lot of battling from what I could see on the TV, but he was winning a lot of those exchanges, holding the ball up quite well, and I was glad to see him get his goal before he got took off.
Yeah, great timing, obviously, for him.
Great finish as well.
Oh, great finish, yeah. Like and like Alex said, like perfect like breakaway goal. Like I think it just maybe 4 touches or something like that, like from Pope to I can't remember who played the ball to Murphy. Oh, he went straight to Murphy. I didn't know.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, I think it's Trippier, then Murphy won like 1 touch and then like swung the pass over, and then Wilson 1 touch and in. It was like as perfect as he could get from a counter-attacking goal. So yeah, he battled well. Like I'd say Longstaff definitely. He was having a right battle with Lerma throughout the game. I don't know if Alex, you've seen, like, Lerma was just proper, like, all over him, like, at every moment, like, there was a break in play, like, he was trying to wind Longstaff up, and somehow, I don't know if he got away without getting yellow carded, but Longstaff got booked for a, like, exchange that he had with him. But
because he tried to stop the throw-in, innit, which was stupid yellow, really, when he cut
tapped
the
it away.
Yeah, but I think that had, like, boiled over from frustration he was getting from
it had, but still, like Eddie said it in his press conference as well, with especially when asked about Gordon, it's those little petty ones that this season they're going to get given that we need to just cut out. Like, I don't know if you saw the Trippier one where he got his yellow card. I thought that was really harsh. Because he did react, and like he didn't put his hands up, like you could tell.
What?
Obviously,
I said to Pete at the time. I remember I was like, someone take Trippier away, because he was chirping up and he was going for it, and I was like, because Trippier's usually the one who grabs someone else and like just pulls them away, gets them away, stops them from getting booked. I was like, someone please fucking grab him and take him away, because he's going to get himself booked. And then no one was, and he was just still going, and then got booked. I was like, it's fucking soft. It's so soft. Like, it's completely needless when they're 3-0 up as well. I'm like, there's no need for it. Frustrated as that one, like, to no end.
Yeah,
we're getting a lot of these frustrating bookings, to be honest, this season. And like, players like Joe Linton, for example, he's going to rack up his yellows, so you're going to be without him.
Yeah.
But this season, I think we've got to be really careful, because we're racking them up already. And Bruno's another example of someone who's picking up like petty ones, and he does pick up yellows anyway. But I thought talking about Bruno, I thought he had a really good game again. Seems to be back to consistently at his best.
Yeah, no, I think he's obviously happy that he's got Joe Linton back in the team alongside him. I think Joe probably had a bit of a quieter game, but didn't necessarily like need him to have a solid enough game, because everything was happening down the other side to him. But yeah, Bruno was just, like you say, combative, like, and his quality was just there, like you say, just made Will Hughes look even more championship than than what you'd already alluded to, like, throughout the game. It was just a step above him and everything. Just dominated that midfield. But yeah, obviously good to see Joe Linton back and getting minutes. And all right, he didn't necessarily do an awful lot for me, but
be good for him for like getting his touch back and his fitness back, match fitness. So hopefully that'll bode well for him going into the Dortmund game. And I thought as well, Lascelles is another one who had another really good game. I think Palace is probably, especially when Palace have got them players out, it's like the perfect game for Lascelles, really. But yeah, it's good to see that he's still performing well going into this game. Because we're going to need him with Botman being out for at least another couple of weeks. So yeah. Anything else, or should we move on to the Champions League?
I just want to say one thing. Why the fuck was Eddie Howe? Why the fuck was Gareth Southgate not at the match? We've got 8 English players starting, and obviously a couple more for Palace as well. Why the fuck is Southgate going to watch Phil Foden against fucking Lewis Dunk when he's got like a full field of English players he could be watching? Because apparently, was it Lascelles got interviewed the other day? Was it you mentioned this? And he got told, like, you've been mentioned about Southgate saying, like, he's keeping an eye on him. And Lascelles was like, like, has he? Like, it's the first I've heard of it. Nice to know. But there's so many good performances. Like, I know people saying Longstaff over, like, Phillips. Like, obviously Burns in class form, and England don't have a fucking left back because Chilwell keep getting injured. And Pope's obviously out the reckoning at the moment because we've got Ramsdale, Pickford and Johnston with the England keepers, so it's just a frustrating one.
Although I was going to say Ramsdale's not even getting a look in at Arsenal at the minute, so like, get a look at Pope again, like, ridiculous.
Yes, I want players to stay fresh for Newcastle, but at the same time, some of them are much more deserving of call-ups, so it's a little bit of a rant on that.
Oh, Gordon, especially as well. Like another goal. Like he needs to be getting a
Should have
call up.
scored another goal.
He should have scored another goal.
Yeah.
He was getting in the right place all the time, and that's all he can ask for. And if it carries on, that he's not going to get he's going to get overlooked, and other people undeserving getting call ups. Then that'd be a bit of a shame. But no, good shout, really. Yeah, he should have been there.
I think the main one for me is Longstaff with Henderson. I can't believe Henderson still gets in. I do kind of understand the Phillips one a little bit, because he's a different type of player, even though he's not playing, and like Southgate trusts him. But I don't really get how Henderson's still getting in there. You'd think that would have been kind of like his swan song by now. But
he's a leader in the dressing room, isn't he, man?
Yeah, well, just take him.
How many leaders do you need in the dressing room?
It's funny, I've just finished watching the Beckham documentary, and you've got there's a Capello saying like you won't play for England unless you play in a top 5 European league. So that's why he had to go to Milan. Then you got fucking Henderson out there playing in I'm not even going to call it Farmers League. That's a disrespect to farmers.
I think there's more people. I think I've seen a stat saying that there was more people at like the Wrexham game than there was at one of these top like Saudi Pro League games.
Gerard's team,
yeah, like come on, man. Like why that? Well, that's Henderson's team, isn't it? Like,
exactly.
So come on, man. Just like he needs to be thinking about that for sure. And Longstaff definitely would be amongst those players in form to called up.
Mm-hmm.
Right, let's talk about Dortmund then. So obviously they're coming to St James's, which is going to be a massive part to play within the game. As you were like talking about, the atmosphere was a bit flat, Palace, but it's not going to be on Wednesday night, is it? It's going to be absolutely rocking. So that's obviously going to go in our favour. But Dortmund so far this season are unbeaten in the Bundesliga. So what are you rating the chances going into this one? Just off the feeling that you've got, do you think after PSG we've got a good chance, or do you think this one's going to be a lot tougher of a game?
No, I think we should be good and confident. Like we've turned our form around from the start of the season. Obviously picking up wins now in the league, and keeping on going in the Carabao and everything else. And the start of our Champions League campaign has been just nothing that anybody would have expected, to be sitting there top of the group on 4 points. Amazing. So I think Eddie he'll know. He'll respect like what Dortmund can bring to the table, but why not be going into this game and being like, actually, like we're proving people wrong here. We're not just going to be the whipping boys in the group. So, and I do think, like, I know it's the age-old saying of like the 12th man makes the difference, but I felt like it made that difference against PSG. So use it again, like for this one against Dortmund. Just everybody's going to be right behind them, make these Champions League nights memorable, and I think I can see that being the same case again, and a good result from it.
The atmosphere is going to be it'll be electric again. It'll be just as PSG, like getting behind the team. If we manage to get a win and won 7 points after 3 games, like we'll be massive favourites. It'll be a disaster if we don't qualify from there. So obviously, if we 2 home games in, like that's when you need to get your points. And as Sam said, they're unbeaten in the league. But it's funny, I look at their like squad and their team that they've been playing, and I don't see them being as good as sort of Dortmund sides in the past. Obviously, they've had like the likes of like Haaland, Bellingham. Obviously, Royce is still there, but he's well past his peak. And I just feel like I think the bookies do have his favourites, and I can see why, because the way we're playing at the moment, we're unbeaten in, was it 7 or 8 games now? in all competitions. Like, we should be going into this game with full confidence we can win it. And I think anything other than a win, like, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but like, I would be disappointed if we don't get a win tomorrow, because I think we've put ourselves in such a good position now after that PSG game, and a fucking great point in Milan as well, by the way. That's like, yeah, let's just try and see out the group as early as we can, and then fucking into the knockouts,
I think that what you're saying there as well is true with the players as well, because we have obviously seen this team under Eddie Howe bottle it a little bit in the big games and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of interesting going into Champions League to see how they would handle it and like handle the pressure and stuff. And obviously they went to San Siro, got a 0-0, and then we've just beat PSG. So you'd like to think now in that dressing room there'll be no like nerves, or there'll still be nerves, but no like doubts in the mind that they can't actually compete in the Champions League. Like, they'll probably go into this one feeling just the same as they were going into the Palace game. Like, it's just another team that we can go and beat. And yeah, I've got no doubt Eddie Howe has obviously had one eye on this game. So we should be very well prepared for their style of play and stuff. I've not seen a lot of them this season at all, but I've just been looking through their results and stuff. And obviously they got the same result against the AC, which was 0-0, but that was at their place. And then they got beat off PSG 2-0, but that was in Paris. So it's a little bit hard to draw like comparables within the group, but just based off that, you'd like to think, like you say, we're definitely the favourites. But looking at their league form, it was a little bit up and down for me. I know they've won every game, but in terms of like, they seem to keep clean sheets quite well, and they don't leak too many goals. But there's some games that they seem to struggle to score in, and they'll end up getting a draw or like a real tight win. And then other ones they seem to like bang a load in. So it's a bit hard to kind of get a read on them so far based just on that, just on the results basically.
Well, yeah, looking at the teams that they've started with this season, like there's none of them which you would put as being like the big hitters in the Bundesliga. They've not had the Klassiker yet against Bayern Munich. They've probably the toughest game that they've had to face would be, you know, the away trips to Hoffenheim and recent game against Union Berlin, who are also in Champions League this season. So yeah, not an awful lot of like massively difficult games in amongst that. So again, you can't read too much into, or I wouldn't read too much into their form domestically. But yeah, like Champions League wise, they were the second seeded team in the group, like, and yeah, like they're the ones that we were initially like looking to see if we could like pin down. And before we started like the group stages, everyone probably expecting PSG to be comfortable enough to finish top of the group, but that's all changed now. So yeah, I fully expect us to really get at them. And just even looking at the squad, like players like Mats Hummels, like obviously he's been great back in the day, but he's getting on now. Like, you know, we really did a number on like PSG's centre halves. Just with like, they were surprised at how intense our game plan is, and we forced them into mistakes. I'd be looking at targeting Hummels again in a similar manner, and looking to force mistakes out of him for tomorrow night.
Yeah, as you're saying, like they've got like a good mix of like experience and youth in the side. You've got like obviously like Royce Hummels, like there's a few players who I watched in the World Cup who I've noticed plays for Dortmund. You've got Füllkrug, who obviously started for Germany, who looked like a decent, like, even though he's only broke into the Germany squad recently in like late 20s, he looks like a good like hold up player, which they're probably going to play with less possession of the ball. So I think he'll do quite well for them. Obviously, Daniel Malin, he was He was playing up top, I think, for the Netherlands, and he looked a proper lively player. I think he got linked with the Premier League, as like often players who do well in the big tournaments do. So they do have some sneaky players, and we've got that young Gio Reyna, who's Claudio Reyna's son, who obviously played in the Prem back in the day, and he also played for Sunderland as well. So there's a little bit in that one if he comes off the bench, because obviously
closest that Mackham will get to the Champions League. That's all I'll say.
I didn't let them call Henderson, man.
I'm sure he was born in Mackham land as well. So
that'd be a real shame.
So that is literally the closest they'll get to a Champions League.
Oh well, that's only Mackham you'll get in Milan, I guess, in this group. But they do have a handful of good players. Obviously, they're unbeaten in the league. They're a good team, but I just think on Wednesday, like, we should have the beating of them. I don't want to get overconfident, but like as we're saying, on the day we can beat anyone at St James's Park. Like, how often do we get beat? We're going to be up for it. The crowd's going to be wild, and it's going to be another like class European night. I'm sure of it.
Well, we were just talking before as well about the fact that they crumbled in the last game of the season last season. And threw away the title. So as much as I'm saying our players are getting used to playing in these big occasions, it would seem on paper like they kind of crumble on the big occasions. So if we can make it a real hostile atmosphere, we could see them crumble. But yeah, it's quite a tough game to call, to be honest. For me, it's like such an unknown, and I think I'm still got that. Even though we're playing so well, and like we've just beat PSG in the Champions League, you still have that kind of fear that everything's too rosy. So in the back of your mind, you're like, something's going to come along.
Might actually hopefully
Tonali. Yeah. Hopefully the Tonali situation is the only thing that's going to be kind of a negative out of the blue this season. But yeah, so if we talk about the expected team, I'd say for me, the back five that started Palace is going to be the back five that starts. There's no one really pushing for a start. Botman's out. I know Livramento had a great game recently, but Trippier plays the Champions League. That's probably a given.
Yeah.
And I can't see anyone getting in ahead of Dan Burn the way he's playing at left back. So are we all agreeing that that'll be the back five?
Yeah, easy.
Easy back five, yep.
I guess one that will be the harder one to call is right wing. And Tom, obviously, your boy had an absolute man-of-the-match performance, 2 assists and a goal. But you would think he probably got the nod in that game to rest Almiron for the Champions League. So do you think Eddie Howe will just stick with that? Or do you think the fact he had such a good game might get him in contention to start?
No, I think he'll revert back. And Murphy, he's obviously such a team player kind of guy, so I don't think he'll have the hump if he didn't get a starting position. Obviously, he will feature at some point in the night, but yeah, I totally agree that he was resting Almiron with this game in mind, and the same way I think as well with Wilson and Isak.
Yeah.
Like Isak we knew he had a little bit of a knock going into the Palace game anyway. He came off the bench and featured and was involved in a big moment where he slipped the ball through to Miggy. So he looked sharp enough to get a starting position against his old side as well. One which I'm sure he'll have a bit of a point to prove. I don't think he really got like much of a shot at Dortmund when he was there. So I feel like he's had his eyes on this one, and like I feel like he'll have a bit of a point to prove tomorrow night. So yeah, I would say the apart from Gordon out of that starting 3 that started against Palace, it'll be it'll be changed up with Miggy and Isak back in. But yeah, and then probably I would say same central midfield three. I can't see. I know we've kind of mentioned that we don't think Tonali would be thrown in as like a starter, but yeah, I feel like Joelinton having 80 minutes back is enough for him to get the nod again, and yeah, Longstaff and Bruno lock-ins at the minute, so yeah, can't see that being any different either.
I probably have to agree. I reckon it'll be the Isak and Miggy coming in. However, I wanted to talk about this like after the Palace game. Murphy, he gives us so much more balance to the side. Like, do you not think like this? Obviously, the ball for the Gordon goal, the ball for the Wilson goal. Miggy couldn't play either of those balls. He couldn't because he couldn't wrap his right foot around it. He can't cross the ball like orthodox like style like a right winger should be able to do. Gordon's different because Gordon can use both feet. He can go past his player and cut it in with his left, and he can cut inside and obviously shoot for the far corner or whatever with his right. But yeah, Miggy can't do that. I genuinely think if I was the coach for the game, I'd be starting Murphy because he just allows Wood to just look and play more naturally, and also keep them guessing, keep it as a surprise. You know exactly what Miggy's going to do. If he gets the ball down the line, he's going to like cut it back to Trippier or cut it back to himself and try and cross in with his left foot. He's not going to whip that ball in with his right foot at all. Like he's telegraphing what he's going to do. Murphy, like as you're seeing, he looked like he was going to go pass it back to Trippier, sorry, and then he just took it with the outside of his boot and went past his man, and he's just like dangerous. And there's a couple of times he fizzed the ball across the box, he blasted it hard. There's no one there. It went all the way through. You could, like, if Wilson was on his toes a bit more, if Isak's on the pitch, like running for that ball, it's a tap-in.
Yeah,
and he just, I really like what he's added to his game, and it's like final product basically. That's what he's done with Eddie, and he's so much better. Obviously, 3 goal contributions against Palace. I think he does deserve that start, but I think Eddie will go back to Miggy because I genuinely think the reason he got his rest wasn't particularly because of this game, it's because he played in Paraguay like less than 48 hours before, and he just got back. So obviously you've seen players like Darwin Núñez getting a rest for the Saturday game as well after coming back from South America. So I genuinely think it was just like a kind of travel thing after the international break, and yeah, he'll start tomorrow.
It's an interesting point as well, because I was going to mention the fact that, like, do you think teams in the Champions League will have woken up to us a bit more now that we've got that result against PSG? They're going to be like analysing us way more than perhaps they would have done. But I do think they'll probably, like Dortmund, will probably look at that PSG game a lot. And obviously Almiron played in that game and he opened the scoring. So they might prepare for that cutting inside. And then you put the curveball in and start on Murphy and he just goes on the outside. And with him being on such a high at the minute, like, if I see
he's confident
Murphy starting, I'll be happy, to be honest. So I think it's kind of a good position going in, because either way you kind of feel like you trust in how he's made the right decision, and either way the other one's going to come on as well. So it is good. Like, and I kind of like the fact that they're not a like for like change. They both help out defensively. They're both good at the press, but then because one's like, obviously Almiron is so left footed, it is different. It does give the fullback a headache, to be honest. So yeah, I think I'm probably in agreement that I'd probably just start Murphy, but I think he will start Almiron. So yeah. So with Dortmund, like, their main threats, what are we looking at? Is it going to be them looking to get in behind on the counter, trying to utilise that fact that we don't have the fastest defenders, or is it going to be a lot of set piece threats? Where are they dangerous?
Yeah, so like Alex alluded to, they've got quite a physical looking centre forward, a bit similar to how we have with Wilson at times. So if it's Fulkrug or Haller, who we know well from his time at West Ham, then we'll look to, they'll look to try and bully Lascelles and Share. Speed wise, they do have it. Malin, he is quite quick out wide. They'll likely be sort of setting up in a similar kind of formation, although like with the two wide guys, Malin and Brandt. Julian Brandt's probably their most informed player that we'll need to be wary of. So yeah, I think they'll try and match us up like for like as much as like they can. So yeah, I feel like I know the obvious thing that they'll to say is that they'll target Dan Burn again.
How many teams have tried it?
I know they do. Like, look, PSG. Well, exactly. PSG tried it like early doors, and like they had that opportunity that they should have scored with when Mbappe crossed for Dembele on Burn's side, and Dembele had got like away from him, but then that was it. We shut the door on that pretty much after that moment. So yeah, I don't know. Like, who's it going to be? Malin, who's going to maybe be the one starting out wide right. So yeah, I don't know. It's I know it's the one that we always pick out, but like it's one which I would say just have to be wary of. Like again, because we don't get to really see Dortmund that often to know much more than that they'll bring.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be a tighter game than the PSG one. Obviously, that was, as you said at the start, it was a bit end to end. I think they'll play a lot more disciplined, and I think we'll maybe not play as fast, because if they're playing like a 4-5-1 kind of what I have been looking to play this season, I reckon they might just sit in, to be honest. I know it sounds weird, like Dortmund coming to St James's Park and just sitting in. But they have got players on the break, and I think it will be a tight game. And I can't see we're running away with it. I can't see we're winning 3-4-1 again, because I can't see them giving us that kind of sort of space in behind and stuff like that, like PSG afforded with a little bit. But as long as we're aggressive with the press, getting the faces, as you're saying, make the centre halves like make mistakes. We've done it a couple of times now lately. Obviously, we've done it with PSG. We've done it with Palace, making centre halves make mistakes, and they're good centre halves as well. Marquinhos, Skehi, right? Centre halves who are meant to be good on the ball. So as long as we keep putting teams under pressure like that, make them make mistakes, and then the rewards will come. So yeah, as long as we're on with game, which I think will be, Eddie will have the boys up for it. Yeah, let's see what we've got.
Well, that leads us nicely into predictions then, I think. We're going to have to try and call this game. As you say,
blind.
I do expect a bit of a tighter game, but I feel like we can still keep a clean sheet. So I'm going to go with, let's say, 2-0 Newcastle.
I will say 2-1 Newcastle.
Two scorelines that I was thinking of. I'm going to go in the middle and go 1.5. No, like obviously we're playing so good at home and we're not conceding too many chances. But see, like the couple of headers that were conceded against Palace, like PSG, could have had a few more. I think we're probably due to concede, so I'll go with 2-1 as well.
How did we do in
the that's a thing.
How did we do with the PSG? Oh no, we didn't have a preview, did we?
No, we're on with Jollies.
We're on the Jollies. Yeah. Can't even think if I predicted a win in advance.
To be honest, I was feeling like confident beforehand that we had a chance of getting something out of the game, and potentially even a win. But obviously, like, no one's going to be predicting 4-1 of it. So
no. Well, I was good actually. So down for me.
Yeah, I was trying to grab some points for the game I went to with Pete, but there's no video evidence of my prediction, so
no,
unfortunately. I don't even know, to be honest. Has anyone got a prediction right yet this season? Because
not like
I said I was going to track it, but
result wise, if we were giving ourselves a point for getting the correct result, then I think we'd be doing all right. But scoreline, nah, we're not. 3-0. I was quite close with for the Palace. No, I know.
You're going to say, "Oh, what up?"
But yeah,
I feel like has Jordan been on this season and picked and got a correct result? Was that last season?
I don't know whether he's got a correct result.
No, I think didn't he? Last time he was on, he was trying to predict the defeat, and I was like, we don't do that on here.
Might be in Liverpool.
I think he was right, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think it might be in the Liverpool one where we fucked it.
All right, he hasn't been blacklisted off this, but fair enough. Yeah.
All right. Well, you go into the game, Alex.
Yes.
Enjoy.
I can't wait.
Be a good night. I'm pretty sure. I'm all set up over here. I've just subscribed to a new streaming service so that I can watch it.
It'll cost you about £2 for all the games, will it?
No, I think it's $25 a month, I think. But as long as we're still in there, I'll be happy to spend it. So, you got any plans for the game, Tom, or you just gonna watch it at home?
I'll be watching it around my mate Carl's. So
Nice.
He's on the new TNT Sports or something like that. We are watching it on these days over here. So nothing like the
TNT is what I was just saying to you before we came on, that had us listed against PSG as playing at the Sports Direct Arena.
Oh, had on then. Right.
In the description before, like,
I'll be keeping.
I think they realised the mistake like 10 minutes before kick-off and updated it.
I'll be keeping a close eye in case that Macame AI has like come in again and done some dodgy descriptions on there again. Can't believe they got away with that for 10 minutes.
Sounds good. All right, lads. Then thanks for joining. If you've enjoyed the episode, do hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well if you're on YouTube. Follow the podcast. Follow us on social media at stjames'pod everywhere. You'll get some banter on there from us now and again. And we'll hopefully be back to review the game and be reviewing another win. Still top of the Champions League group on 7 points. But if not, we'll be here anyway to review it. And join us for that one and the next Premier League preview. Catch you in the next one.